So, hi and welcome. I'm Robin Rothenberg, Program Director of Essential Yoga Therapy. And I have here with me some wonderful people, Melissa and Andrea and Llewellyn and Nathan. And they all are and have participated in this program in a variety of ways. I think all of them have graduated from the therapist training in various iterations. And then Melissa and Andrea and Llewellyn are mentors for the program, and Nathan is a graduate of our most recent cohort. So I invited them to come so that you would not just be having me to talk to, but to have a fuller sense of the EYT experience, which is really so much about community and support and at multiple levels. And I feel like it's really one of the strengths of our program, and which is demonstrated by I just sent out a, hey, anybody available? And people say yes, because they care about our community. It's like a family. So I appreciate their being here. And I appreciate you all being here. Um, what what brings you here today? What are you each looking for? I'm curious. I know the rest of the crew here are curious too. What's compelling you to ask about yoga therapy at this point in your life, and what draws you to EYT enough to make the time to be here today? Zola, do you mind jumping in?
Sure, not at all. Hi, I'm Sola. Um, I let's see. I actually have a 500 hour and a 2 hour from two different schools. And I got into yoga because I had a back injury in college. And but I didn't really get serious about it till probably in my 30s. And so I taught for a lot of years, took a lot of training and started to teach. But I got into yoga to develop my own personal practice, but then I started teaching and I eventually partnered with someone to open up a yoga studio. But then we closed, we had it for about 7 years and then we closed during COVID. And now, as I think about going back to teaching, we did go online to teach for a while, but that didn't really appeal to me. I did it, I learned how to do it, but I know I'm more of a hands-on teacher and um, making things very specific for people for modifications, especially if they've got um, muscular skeletal issues going on. And I'm really interested in the therapeutic aspects of it because I came into it because of a back injury. And so fast forward many years, that back injury has just recently, a few months ago, I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease. So it has gotten worse over the years, but I feel like I've staved off a lot of pain over the years, but it is causing me more problems. So I think I just want to help people deal with chronic pain, especially as they get older. I'm in my 60s now, and I'm not done. I want to learn something new, and it felt like this would be something. It seems like it would build on what I've already started. I'm also looking at Pilates, and in 2018, I started to learn how to swim, like taking real
Okay.
swim lessons to learn technique because it's supposed to be good for my back. So I'm just exploring different things, and this is one of them. That's me.
Great, thank you. It's really helpful to hear where you're coming in from and what your interests are. We definitely have a large portion of our program is focused on musculoskeletal conditions. However, it's it's more comprehensive than just that, because yoga is so much about the mind and the heart, and also our physiology and our health. So we really work with the whole person. So musculoskeletal being part of it, but the program really prepares people to work with people with chronic anxiety and depression, and stress, as well as physiologic conditions like digestive issues or high blood pressure, diabetes, things like that as well. So, yeah, yeah, great, thank you, Desiree. Can we hear from you?
Hi.
Hi.
So my name is Desiree and I am in California. I own a yoga studio. I've had it for almost 9 years and our population, like just by, been like very responsive to the population as it's evolved on its own. And we wound up becoming kind of an anomaly in our area because hot yoga is all the rage. And we are like the only studio that's not heated in our area. And we serve students that are largely like 40 and over. We have chair yoga. We serve a lot of elderly students or students who are recovering from different injuries and whatnot. And I have been wanting to learn how to, on a one-on-one basis, just support these students a little more fully and personalize their experience. I have actually shied away from doing private classes throughout my yoga teaching career for a number of reasons. I kind of have like a fast and furious entry into studio ownership, and it was a lot to be a relatively new teacher and then to start that journey. And I feel like I'm finally 9 years later getting my footing like with a number of those roles, and I've been hungry for more growth as a teacher, like as an individual teacher, and to also just be a little more have a little more wisdom to share with my staff. Plus, I also want to be a student. Like I feel like I always am in this leadership role, and to have a chance to be a student and be supported is something I'm also really hungry for. And then I've been looking at a few different yoga therapy programs over the last probably 2 years, and just nothing has really like jumped out at me. But I took a yoga class on a trip to Carmel recently, and I met a woman who was reading out of your book. A teacher was reading out of your book, and it like just really struck me. And I asked her to share the book with me after the class, and I picked it up and I've been reading it, and I've shared it with a couple of my teachers, and we've all just been like drooling over it. Like we just love the synthesis of yoga philosophy and the practical application, and how, I don't know, I was just like, I have to study with Robin, like, and they're like, yes, please do. And so that's what's brought me here. And I've been so like dead set, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. We have some pretty significant changes, positive ones with the studio that have given, I almost didn't come tonight because I was just like, I don't even know if I can do this. And my husband was like, just go and just hear if it's possible. But yeah, I'm very interested to see about like the format and if I can make it work, because my heart really, really wants to make it work.
So sweet. Thank you. Thank you so much, Desiree. And sounds like your studio is really thriving, which is nice to hear, because as a former studio owner, and I know that Andrea has also been in a similar situation. Llewellyn runs her own business. You know, it's hard. It's a difficult business to keep going and keep the enthusiasm for and keep yourself juiced. I really, really understand when you say, God, I'm like always in this leadership role and I just want to have an opportunity to be a student and to kind of be filled and nourished back up.
Yeah.
So yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sharon. And also, can I just, before you start, Zola, where are you located?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. I'm in on the coast of Massachusetts. I'm on the East Coast.
On the East Coast, yeah, in Massachusetts. And then I wanted to, because Zola, if you identified where you were from, I didn't, like where you're living.
I lived in California for about 30 years, but I've been in Atlanta, Georgia for the last 2 years.
I was just there. My daughter lives in Atlanta.
Oh,
My
okay.
grandkids live in Atlanta. There's a big chunk of my heart that lives in Atlanta. And I get there as often as possible.
Good, wonderful.
Yeah, she lives in Oakland City.
Oh, okay. I'm in Fayetteville.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. So Sharon, back to you.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you for doing this tonight. I've been following you for several years. And I've always wanted to study with you, Robin, and I actually wanted to take your um, yoga for back hair, your EY essential yoga for
Yeah,
back hair.
yeah, come to Australia. I'll be there in a
Yeah,
couple weeks.
I know. I was like, my
Come on
passport
over.
expired and I never renewed it. And I thought, well, I don't know if this is the time, but yeah, I don't think I could get there by, is it August? Yeah, maybe if I had planned a little more in advance, but so yeah, I'm not sure I even am a candidate for your program, but I wanted to at least kind of tune in and see if it might be
Sure.
something. Because I have a few things, and I don't mean to be negative, but I have age against me in terms of starting a program that could go on for several years. And I'm on the East Coast. So, there's a couple of challenges there, but I'm not tied to the East Coast. But so I have been a student of yoga for 30, 40 years, but I never taught. I actually did the yoga teacher training at Yoga Works in California when I lived in San Diego for 5 years. But I finished just like before COVID. So I never really had a chance. And then I had, unfortunately, like multiple back-to-back medical calamities, if you will. So I'm kind of out of the woods now, and I'm a little bit older, but I have never found a studio where they actually work with people who are older and might have medical conditions. And every studio I walk into, it's hot yoga, it's vinyasa, and so I've been looking for a program where I could really learn the tools to teach a more therapeutic uh, yoga, because that's really what I prefer to do. That's what I do at home now. I was born and raised with a Ashtanga, but no more. So during COVID though, I did the Yoga for Seniors program through Duke University.
Yeah. My
Um,
friends, Carol Krukoff and Kimberly
oh,
Carson. Yeah.
yeah, it was, I think it was very challenging for them doing a course like that online
Mm,
because there was no hands-on
right.
ability. So I think they did the best they could. What was really, I think what I took away from it, which was most interesting, was all of the medical lectures. There was a lot of good medical information there about what to do, what not to do.
Yeah.
And one of the most interesting parts was the program, the lecture on palliative care.
Mm,
Because dealing with people, and I'm older, I have 5 siblings, massive medical issues, and palliative care is always going to come into our lives at some point. So there's so many different areas of therapeutic yoga that a teacher could, in areas where you could work and help people.
absolutely.
So anyway, I'm very dedicated. I've had a lot of training. I know my own body very, very well, and I actually just signed up for Leslie Kaminoff's yoga program. His teaching project, if you're familiar with it, it's from the Breathing Project, but it's breath oriented, and it deals with anatomy. So it's a 70-hour program. So I'm just starting that because I did want to learn more about anatomy, and I didn't know if I'd ever have the chance to work with you, to practice with you and learn from you. So I thought, well, this is a start. So I don't know. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you is the yoga therapy program, and I did some quick research online. Does it start with like Foundations 1 and then Foundations 2? Or is it more?
There's two parts to it. The first is Foundations of Yoga Therapy.
Right.
That's the first 18 months. And
Okay.
then the second part is Applications of Yoga Therapy. And that's where the practicum is, and where you'll be working individually with clients and be supervised with that. So that's the last 2 years. And I can talk more about the structure of the program, how it's set up.
And I think my biggest issue really is finding a mentor and finding a studio where I can actually, apply applications. I feel like it just
Oh,
doesn't
well, we
exist.
supply the mentors. You're looking at a couple, three of them right here,
Oh,
and
but
they're
I mean,
excellent.
to actually get into a studio and work,
Well,
that's
we support people in figuring that piece out.
really,
Sometimes it's studio and sometimes it's marketing, networking within your community, but there's a variety of ways, but you'll still be mentored by and supervised by our people. They will
right.
stay in very close relationship with you and hold your hand through the process. So yeah,
Do you have
yeah.
any graduates out here on the East Coast, Robin?
I do. Actually, recent graduate. I have a couple
Okay,
from various cohorts. We have people from all over the country who take this program. And so I have people in Massachusetts and Connecticut that I can think of right off the bat. Um,
I think I went on your website and I saw, pretty sure it was your website, that there was one in Belmont, Mass. There was a couple around and I did see, yeah, but they didn't have websites, or really there was no way to reach out to them.
oh,
So,
well, I can put you in contact with people
okay,
that are on the East Coast if you'd like, that are near you, for sure.
so how would I be able to work with you and do the program from the East Coast, or would I really need to be
Yeah.
on the East
Well,
Coast?
I'll kind of lay out all of
Okay,
that. I want to hear from Darshini first,
okay,
and so that I get a sense of where everybody's questions are, and then I'll lay out some broad
great.
information for you all, and let my friends here also have an opportunity to speak to some of the things that you brought up. Darshini, can we hear from you now too, please?
Yes. Hi, my name is
Hi.
Darshini,
Darshini,
and
I don't know why I've got that not right in my head. Sorry
you
about
just
that.
think of Darshana, like the Darshana
Darshana,
of
I know,
yoga.
actually, when you said that, that's what I thought of. And then I was like, wait a minute, did I have that wrong? Okay, my
Yeah.
apologies.
So I'm currently based in California, and originally I'm from India, and I do come from lineage traditions. I'm
Okay.
from the western part of India, and so I've studied in ashram settings, and I've received initiation. I come from a family generationally where we've all studied yoga, and the yoga
Mm,
that I've studied is for moksha. It's not just meant for therapeutic reasons or for scientific or empirical validity reasons.
sure.
And so it's not that hard. I know that yoga chikitsa, as what we say in India, it can be supportive in towards reaching that state. But the yoga specifically I've studied is meant for householders. And
Hmm.
what I've noticed over time, over the years, is Hatha yoga, because yoga has become so globalized and popularized. Hatha yoga, I think, is so paramount, different forms of Hatha yoga. And I just for many years have been interested in yoga chikitsa, yoga therapy, but I haven't really been able to really commit to a longer program. There's programs in India that I've really liked, but they're in places that I don't work there, so I just can't go for 2 to 4 years and actually be in-house there and work. It's just not logical or practical for me at this point. So I
Hmm.
was looking for a program and also just wanting to learn what I find what is amiss a lot of times in ashram settings is we don't learn about so much the anatomy physiology. It's
Hmm.
oftentimes very limited. And so I find that when I come to the West, I do find that I have a huge there's a knowledge base that I need to know more about in terms of obviously holistically understanding it and from the different bodies, but from how do we apply it therapeutically? How do we understand it? Because every body is so different and every constitution is different. So
Exactly.
I wanted to learn how Westerners learn it too, because then I think that has more of an international reach. It is coming from a Western gaze, but I still think it could benefit me in terms of the value of understanding anatomy, physiology, and really that foundation I know is missing in my yogic journey. So I've been looking around, and this is one of the programs I was interested in.
Great, thank you. Really, really lovely to hear your background. And, it's inspiring to have somebody coming in who has, that orientation towards yoga that is unfortunately missing a lot in the West, which is the connection to spirit and like really that desire for liberation and raising of consciousness as opposed to just physical fitness, which unfortunately in the West it often gets reduced to. And I'm not a fan of that. Although it is, as several of you mentioned, it's kind of pervasive everywhere. So it's unfortunate because from my own personal experience as a practitioner and student, and then as a teacher and therapist, and supporting other people and evolving through yoga, it's so potent and powerful, the practices, the tools, the philosophy. When you combine that with some really grounded science and anatomy and physiology and Western psychology, and you bring it together, it's really a map for understanding the human experience and supporting well-being on every level. And there really are very few modalities that are that comprehensive. So it astounds me how much we can support people and facilitate their health and well-being through the tools of yoga. It's not like it's the be all and the end all of everything, but there's at least pieces that we can offer in somebody's healing journey that can help and support them in moving forward towards their goals. So I think it's all important, and I feel like our program is steeped in the all of it. That's what I want to say. It's not about favoring Western over traditional. Like there's a real recognition and respect for the philosophical tenets of yoga that really call us to wake up and to live with more consciousness and to really not just stretch our hamstrings, but really take the practices into our life, into our relationship, on all levels, and to really cultivate a more refined and developed and mature, responsible human being to support. I mean, this planet needs that, certainly. And then we can, once we really take ourselves through that process, which is a lot of what Foundations is about, and I know my buddies here will have more to say about that. Foundations is really a personal journey into the teachings of yoga, the practices of yoga, not as separate, but really in a unified way. And it's really about taking those and applying them to yourself for your own growth and development. And, the quest, you can go as deep as you want. Some people, like our friend Nathan, just like show up and dive into the deep end of the pool and go, okay, I'm here, I'm available, I'm going to do this work. And then as a teacher and mentor, it's like awesome to watch these people just blossom and grow and just come more and more into themselves. My feeling is that we have to start there. We always have to start with yoga with ourselves. That's what it's about. It's always about svadhyaya, self-awareness, self-study. And that the more we cultivate and refine our understanding of how these different practices and tools and techniques and teachings can support us, the more we have to share with others, the more authentically we can share with others, and support them in their journey. Because, you know, when I'm assuming since you all have been practicing for a while, you know, it's not like a smooth ride. Self-awareness, you know, you keep bumping up against those rough edges where it's like, oh, that's a little bit ugliness. Don't want to really look at that, right? So it's tough. It's tough. There's times where it's just like, okay, what do I really want? How do I really want to show up? And so we support each other in the process. That's that community Sangha piece that is provided. But it's through that, the challenge of it, and I'm going to say in some ways the victorious quality of coming, the joy of like, wow, I've really challenged myself to do this, and I actually feel more stable in myself. I feel more able to navigate some challenging issues in relationship that I kind of shirked from or ducked or just not even known, felt overwhelmed with before. I feel more able and stable in my life. And I know how hard it is, so that when you've got your clients and they're dealing with it and they're like, it's so hard to find time to practice. I know this helps, but it's hard for me to go to bed earlier, right? It's hard for me to change my diet. It's hard for me to prioritize myself. You can look them in the eye and go, yeah, I know. I know. And here's the things that help. Here's some things that have helped me. I'm with you. And here's what's on the other side. I know because I've been there. I've walked the walk. So foundations is first, and then applications is where we go deeper into more of the medical conditions, the physiology, and the different pathologies, and then bringing that all together and how we support an individual who may be depressed, have back pain, chronic headaches, and deal with insomnia, and have an aging mom who's got dementia, right? Because that's kind of how it is. They don't just come in easy like, oh, I have a little back pain. It's like they're a whole person, they have a life, and it's complicated. And so we need to be able to show up with tools for all of it. Because even if they think they're just coming in for yoga exercise or yoga PT, that's not what we offer. We offer a modality that supports holistic healing on all levels. So we're always looking at the whole person, not at the parts. So I'm going to just open it up. Nathan, you want to jump in with some some words fresh off the press?
Yeah, I think to what you were just speaking to, Robin, I think that was, the foundations portion of the program really was a lot of that self-study. And I can say, like, it's tough going through some of those exercises because you really have to look at yourself and, see your patterns, then acknowledge that they are your patterns, and then consciously be able to say, and now I have to change them. And then this gives you this rubric to do it. You don't realize it at the time, but then as you go through it, I feel like that was one of the most, one of the biggest parts of this program. And it allowed me to go into applications with even more understanding and compassion, not only just for myself, but also compassion for where my clients are going to be coming in, and being able to see them as a human being, because I just went through this, crack open of my soul almost. And then, you sit down with somebody and you just can learn how to hold space because you've held space for yourself. And so it's just a really beautiful experience to go through, because you really do walk the walk. Like Robin said, you go through it, and you're not just learning yoga, you're not just learning poses, you're learning human beings, you're reading bodies, you're adapting, you're co-creating, you're doing all these things that are so much more than just a body, which is just such a beautiful thing with this program, and the way that it's structured, and that foundational aspect of the philosophy, bringing, even the one of my favorite parts was the Yoga Sutras. I was more on the musculoskeletal side, so a lot of the philosophy and a lot of the just yoga tradition was something that I was able to come forward and expand my teaching. I think I was also plateauing in my teaching. Desiree kind of to like, I don't know where to go. I don't know like how to expand on some of these ideas. So it just gave me a swath of things to be able to tap into, a toolkit to be able to use to go forward with. And give myself that confidence and kind of relinquish myself from all of the mind stuff that keeps us from doing things. And so I really appreciate that about the program of just how it's structured. And it is a lot, but you definitely can do it. I was working full time, so it's definitely doable. But it is a big commitment for, if you want to go into this, dedicating the mental, physical, emotional space for this work is really important. The more you put into it, the more you really do get out of it.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Appreciate hearing your words and your experience. Llewellyn, I'm wondering if you would speak to, because you work with an aging population, not solely, but it's a big part of what you do. And you were doing that to some extent before you started this program. And so maybe talking about how the program has supported you in that work, and anything else you want to bring forward about being a student, being a mentor, going through the whole process.
Okay. All right. Sure. My name's Llewellyn. I live on Lopez Island, which is about 2 hours north of Seattle. And I've been doing yoga for teaching 27 years now. Started in the Iyengar tradition, but then hooked up with Robin in 2016. And then after I graduated from the foundations program, started mentoring, and now mentor in all of the offerings for EYT, which is fun because there's a way that they all weave together, and learning through like the lower back care or the breathing that you mentioned, the book, and all of those programs. It's kind of like foundations and applications is sort of the culmination, sort of like the grand opening of all of that. And so I love being part of the program because of and mentoring in the programs because of all the discovery that happens. It's very very just honor to witness how, like what Nathan just mentioned, the places that get revealed and how they get worked through on an individual level, and then guiding that, or kind of working with what's there in a way that can reveal kind of the superpower of the student in some ways. So anyway, that's just a little bit why I love mentoring. And like Robin mentioned, I have my own business on Lopez, and I have been teaching in this older, it's called Creaky Yoga. So it's an older demographic. We've sort of opened it up to, whoever feels creaky, but for the most part, it's like 50 to, in their 90s part of the population. And there's two chair classes and 2 mat classes a week. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into therapeutics. Similar to some of you, what you said is just wanting these people, they would say, I want to age gracefully. I want to be able to get on the floor and play with my grandkids. I want to not be in pain all the time so I can do my bucket list, before I die. Or I even want to die gracefully. I mean, there's all of it's there. And it really was profound in terms of just seeing all that's out there, and also seeing like that I'm headed, I'm not getting any younger, and so yeah, there's a lot to it. It's a very, there's a lot to navigate, and all the different ways that people approach themselves, all of the cultural ways that people will lens that they see through. And so having to work with people that way is a blessing in a lot of ways, and people that get dedicated to it. It's a pretty big program. I'm the director of the program, and kind of graduated into that role in the last few years. So yeah, I could keep going. But I just want to say the best thing about this program is that with all of that going on for people, there's so many lenses that you learn to look through. And it's kind of like you pick one, like, oh, is it an Ayurvedic little, piece that that could help them sleep, or just eat a little better, or drink a little more water, or is it maybe chakra lens? Maybe that this person it's a way that they can relate to how they're living in their bodies. Or maybe it's the sutras. Maybe even somebody is, open to that type of, I just met with a client that really wants to learn more about the Kriya Yoga Sutras, and, send me the book, send me the we had this whole conversation. And so there's all kinds of ways and lenses to help people, like what I hear all of you wanting to do. And it does depend upon, what you feel comfortable with, of course, but also what the person is presenting, and how you can tailor the tools that you'll learn in the program towards helping others. And it's so, so joyful to just do this work. I'm so, so blessed that I have this now. That to be a yoga therapist is just a dream for me. So, yeah.
Thank you, Llewellyn. And apparently we have to celebrate our 10-year anniversary soon.
Yeah.
Next year.
It's coming up.
I didn't realize that. One more person is joining us. So I just admitted her. Welcome, Shannon.
Yep, trying to unmute. Thanks.
Hey, welcome. We're just having a little conversation here. I'm going to continue on and kind of circle back, give you a few minutes just to settle in, okay?
Yeah, you're good. Thanks.
Yeah, glad you could join us. Andrea and Melissa, let's hear a little bit from you about your experience within the program and mentoring in the program. Oh, Andrea.
You have to call on us, Robin.
Thank you for joining us.
I live in Montana, and Helena, Montana, and I practice yoga therapy. I have a private practice as well as teach a therapeutics class. I had the great, incredible, amazing opportunity to work with Robin in her therapeutics class for many years as an assistant. And that just really inspired me. It was really just where I kind of found out about yoga therapy, and just knew immediately this is what I wanted to do, because it's such a holistic perception and way of looking at things, and a way of solving problems and helping people live more vibrant, full lives. So I absolutely love what I do. What I love about this program, both foundations and applications, is that it's alive. It's not like not everything is totally organized and exactly the same from year to year to year. It's alive, it transforms. Robin is always bringing new scientific information and new insights and new ahas of like, oh, well, when we can put these pieces together and then we do this, we have something profound. And I think there's so many programs out there right now that are just pre-recorded trainings, and it's dead material. I mean, it's good, it's helpful, it's interesting, but it's dead because there's no interaction. There's no new infusion of life. There's no dialogue. There's no opportunity for someone to say, I did that. I didn't, that didn't really resonate with me, and then to have a conversation about why maybe that breath work or that mantra or that sutra doesn't sit well, or maybe it sat amazing and it was the first time you ever did it and you're like, I had no idea. And to be able to share that conversation makes this program really extraordinary, and it allows you to go so deep into your own personal process. So that was the one thing I wanted to make sure, just to say that it's alive, it's fresh, it's cutting edge. It's always, when I graduated and I came back as a mentor, I was like, well, I'll get to go through the program again. And this time actually I have a little bit more time to digest the incredible volume of information. And which was a lot of review, but there was a ton of new stuff that wasn't able to be included in my program because it just wasn't on the radar or that science hadn't come out. So it was amazing just to be part and parcel to that. I love in applications in particular, and we do a little bit of this in foundations, but in applications in particular, you kind of get the Western view of something, the Western medical system. We go through it really thoroughly, like the respiratory system or cardiovascular system, but then we go pretty thoroughly through the Ayurvedic system as well. So you get to hold both of these pieces, which are important to understand both the Western experience, right? Because that's the world we live in. That's when our clients come to us, you know, they are usually seeing Western medicine doctors in a very Western style system. And so understanding what that's about and that perspective and, you know, is very important, but then to understand some of the Ayurvedic pieces and how to apply that can be so potent, because sometimes just a little understanding of like, oh, that makes sense now. So that was the other thing I wanted to share. I just wanted to see if on my web, if that covers all my notes. I think so. I think with foundations, it is a deep dive, but there is also a fair amount of listening to other people and seeing what's happening with them. So you're still learning therapeutically and how to look at other bodies therapeutically. So I don't want it to
People's
sound like
minds.
it's just, what's that?
And also how other people process in their
And how other
minds
people
and their
process-
perspective. It's like, really? You
Yeah.
hated that? I love that. Like, wow,
Right.
isn't that interesting? We're
Right. This is
right.
what I
We
mean
had a
by
very different experience and response.
Yeah, this
to
is
the
what I
same
mean
thing.
by a live program. Like you may have somebody in your group who has scoliosis and they'll be gracious enough for you to be able to look at their bodies and begin to say like, oh, okay, well, what happens if you do this with this posture? What happens if you do that with that posture? And so there's this opportunity to really begin to look and see and become discerning both within your own cohort as well as with yourself. It's a no joke program. So I just want to put it out there. It's not, I mean, it's for real. It's like a master's program. And there's a lot of information, and there's a lot of time required. And you just really need to know that you can set aside the time because it's so juicy that you just don't want to be frustrated that you don't have the time to digest something. And being able to be present for the lectures in person is so much better than going back and listening to a recording. The recordings are there and it's absolutely helpful because sometimes it's unavoidable, but I think that was the one thing I didn't fully understand myself. how that it's a very deep program. There's a lot of information. And as a mentor, just helping people kind of navigate that volume of work, volume of information, you know, I just became even more present with that. So it's amazing to be in this group. It's amazing to be yoga therapist. Both programs are amazing. The foundations in itself is awesome. And then if yoga therapy is a passion for you, then of course applications, I think, is amazing.
Thank you, Andrea. Melissa.
I'm in Toronto. My name is Melissa. I'm in Toronto. And I, like Llewellyn, I'm a mentor for several of the EYT programs, which I really enjoy. When Andrea's talking about checking in, like this, we check it, Robin teaches a practice and then we talk about it and you get everyone's experience and man, is it informative. And it's not that everyone is drunk the Kool-Aid and it feels good. Like we're not, you know, it's really kind of fascinating to see what works and what doesn't, and then just start to put those pieces together. I think has been so helpful. There are a few things that I really love about this program. I love that it's one cohort, foundations, one cohort of people going through. So it's not that you're doing a module here and then it's a different group of people for the next module. There really is something about traveling through the program with a group of people doing the same thing that I've just witnessed and felt as being so very, very important. I have to, because I'm a mentor, but I appreciate the mentorship. I think it's a really neat piece of the program, and you will meet monthly with your mentors. And Nathan, I work with Nathan. I'm Nathan's mentor, and I love having Nathan. I have to say, I got lucky. Like, well, all of the students are really great. I have to say, mine are the best. But it's really nice to be able to connect to a mentor who can help you when you have questions. And sometimes the mentors see things that you don't see. And so just getting that information can be really, really useful. So I wanted to mention that as well. This program is online, and then there are some in-person residencies as well. You may think that Robin won't be able to see you online, and I want to assure you that that is not the case, because we've done practices and I've gotten notes from Robin afterwards about things that she noticed in my practice while she was teaching the entire group. So like one of the things that I am incredibly just in awe of is Robin's ability to see bodies. It's impressive. Robin is an amazing yoga therapist. To see her work is very inspiring. And just the fact that she does it so well, even through Zoom, is also very inspiring. So I just wanted to mention those things.
Thank you, Melissa. Shannon, it says slow flow Shannon, but I'm assuming Shannon, is that, what do you prefer to be called?
Shannon.
Shannon, okay, good. I didn't think slow flow, but I did give the other students an opportunity to give a little bit of, bio information, like where you're from and why you're interested in yoga therapy at this point, and why you might be drawn to this program, questions that you have. So would you be willing to share a little?
Sure. Yeah, SoFlo Shannon is my business name.
Okay, good.
I'm in South Florida, hence the SoFlo. I'm originally from
right.
Texas. Emily Large highly recommended you, and this is not the first time she's highly recommended you. I love Emily to death, but she's a little last minute. I think she's kind of like me, juggling family and kids and so many things. And
Sure.
you're like, Robin has this thing today, or Robin has this thing tomorrow. And I'm not always able to jump in at the last minute like that. But I've been practicing yoga about 25 years. I've been teaching about 10. And going deeper has always been something that I've wanted to do. Getting an 800-hour or 1,000-hour certification is something that's always been on the horizon, even though I'm still at the 200-hour level. I've just been lost in caring for kids and my 91-year-old mother that lives with me. And I'm starting to get to a place in my life where the kids are getting a little older and I can refocus on myself and my business more. So that's, I think, in a nutshell.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you. Emily's awesome. Emily, I mentored in Emily's therapist training program way back in like 2005 or something. That's how we met. And she had some chronic neck issues that I helped her with, and we sort of bonded around that, and we've been in cahoots with each other ever since. So yeah.
She mentioned numerous times that you got her out of chronic pain. Our sons are actually friends. That's how we met.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And I'm like, you're a yoga teacher? I'm a yoga teacher. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I want to just respond to a couple of things. Andrew said this program is no joke. It's not. This is not I'm not a person that is like a phone-in kind of person. And I have always, my dad was an amazing teacher. He taught at the dental school, and every year he got like best teacher award and also hardest teacher award. So he taught me to, like he modeled teaching, because I was always a student and it was always hard, like I'd write something and think it was beautiful and fabulous. And he'd be like, yeah, but I think it needs some editing. I'm like, what? No. So that is to say, I developed a desire, a quest to know, and a curiosity to learn, and a recognition that there's usually more. So I'm a good teacher, and I'm an even more good student. I'm just always about learning more. So I do seem to keep bringing more things in, and it's not that I want to overload people, but it's like, my God, there's this piece too, and this piece fits with that piece. My mind is a weave. I see things as how they come together. To me, Western psychology, Eastern psychology, I can say it like that, but that's not how I feel it. I feel how they are really meeting at the center. And that's where I'm interested in working with people, is in helping and being able to be multilingual, so that somebody who's coming in and it's just like totally Western oriented, and I'm not going to start talking chakras with them. You know, I'm going to give them the, thanks, Desiree. I understand technology, right? But we're here because of technology too. That's the upside of it. So you know, if they just want the nuts and bolts, I can go into, you know, degenerative disc and what that means, and how actually over 30, by the way, everybody pretty much has some level of degenerative disc. So it's not the end of the world. It happens. And there's a lot of things that yoga can do to help to support it. And I can just stay in that lane. And then, you know, like one of my clients this morning is like discovering her second chakra. She's all about like, she just like deep dive in and like, just like really working it. And one of my other clients has gotten turned on to Ayurveda, and he's like, it's changed his life. He's like working with an Ayurvedic practitioner now, and with his diet, and he's feeling healthier than he's ever felt. He's doing Abhyanga, like oil massage every single night. It's like amazing. So, and this is somebody who never took care of himself, and he's learning how to take care of himself. And Ayurveda are these tools, you know, that are bringing that forward. So I love that. And I love sharing that. And it's for real, in that you do need to think of it as a graduate program, not sort of kind of, but really a graduate program. And what would the work demands be for that? And do you have the space and time in your life to really focus on that? It's not easy regardless. That doesn't mean it's not joyful and juicy, because it is, right? Sometimes the things that are hard are also really satisfying and deeply resonant. But for sure, it's easier for the people who are able to create the time and the space, as opposed to fighting it. I mean, and we work. I mean, Nathan had a whole lot of employment stuff that happened over the course of the 3.5 years. And we just, you know, like, we're not going to let Nathan not complete the program. Like, you just met him. Would you let him go? Forget it. We're going to like support him. So, you know, we extended this and we made that work, and we've helped him to get to where he's at this point where he's got almost everything done. Right. So yeah, it's exciting. So, you know, we being me and the mentors, really work hard to make it work for everybody. And it's important, I think, for people to have their expectations of themselves really clear up front, and to say, okay, I do have the time and the space in my life to actually accommodate this. And I do want to say the two parts of the program are separate, financially separate, time-wise separate, commitment separate, because sometimes people come into the foundations thinking, all I want is just to be a more therapeutically oriented yoga teacher. And you will be an awesome therapeutically oriented yoga teacher at the end of foundations. You will have skills that 90% of the yoga teachers out there do not have, and a capacity to work in group settings with a lot of adaptive tools. right? In terms of working deeply with people who have chronic illness of some sort or chronic pain of some sort, who are living with various kinds of pathologies or disease conditions, that comes in applications. And sometimes people come in thinking they want to do the whole thing, and then they finish foundations and go, this is really satisfying, this is enough. And sometimes they come in thinking they only want to do that, and they're like, I don't want to stop, I just want to keep going. So committing to foundations doesn't commit you to applications. However, there's just no way to do applications without foundations as the foundation, as the groundwork, because all the tools that we use and apply working with people with serious conditions, we develop the understanding of them in foundations. So, right, no requirement to do the full thing. However, definitely, if you want to go on to get the 800 hour, our 800 hour is really 1,300 hours, by the way. The program is not a entry level yoga therapy program. It's more of an advanced yoga therapy program. And there's an acknowledgement in IYT, like there are more of that entry level, just people who just hit the 800 bar. And then there's a few of us, not many of us, who are up above 1,000. And I think my program is one of the longest, if not the longest. And it's not because I just want people to suffer. There's important stuff. It takes time. There's no rushing this.
And
I
that
really believe in
1,300 hours,
digestion.
it's both programs. I just want to point out that it's both programs, the 1,300 hours.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where does that leave us? What are the questions that are arising in this moment for you that you would like to have answers? We do have payment, flexible payment programs. Our bookkeeper is really good at working with people on that. Like I said, we do work with, oftentimes people come in saying, yes, I have this time and space, and then something happens, they get sick, somebody in their family, so like I said, we really try and accommodate what's happening in real time for people within the structure of the program. The way that it's structured is we do foundations. I'm just going to talk foundations for the moment. 1 3-day weekend a month, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually from 8 till about 3:30. And then, so that's what thanks, Sharon. That's where I'm going right now. So 1 3-day weekend a month, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this is when I give times, it's Pacific time. I find it's far less confusing if I just stay in my home lane, which is Pacific time. So I'm not sure. I think that either 7:30 or 8. We switched it halfway through, so that's why I'm confused. But in the morning, we start each day and we go to about mid-afternoon. We're trying to accommodate the East Coast people and not have it go too late in their day. So that's why we bumped it up earlier for the West Coast people. So I think we go 7:30 to 3:30 seems like works better. And then so it's 1 3-day weekend a month, and then there's 1 weekly practice. Those have been held on Thursday mornings, 7 to 8:30. And the practices are always in relationship to whatever the didactic material that's being shared on the weekends. The weekends do have practices as well, but there's lecture and there's discussion time and there's observation and all kinds of things. So that's in terms of the class time commitment for foundations. It's 1 3-day weekend and then the 1 weekly class. Then you meet with your mentor and mentor pod. Oftentimes there's the mentor pods meet, like Llewellyn would have all of her people like get together so that you guys can talk to each other and hear from each other and share what your experiences are, your frustrations or the things, exciting insights. We have an online platform, Instructure Canvas, that we use, and that's where all of your homework is uploaded, and your mentors can communicate with you directly about your homework there. There's also discussion boards. So sometimes the homework is a discussion board. Like I put out a question and then people feed in. And what's really lovely about that is that you're kind of talking to each other. You know, I'm just like, I'm going to get all like emotional because Nathan's cohort, like there's 15 of them and they like came in as strangers, and within like the first month they were besties, and they've only gotten bestier and bestier. Like they just love each other. So the discussions are like, you know, like, oh my God, Nathan, I really feel you on that. And my heart's with you. And like, they're just like pouring love to each other. And it's all in this yoga philosophy context, but they're taking it into their lives and their relationships and their dog dying and all these things, right? So it's really quite beautiful. And it's a way to stay connected. I do really strongly believe that we are all teachers. We're all mirrors for each other, and everybody's experience has value and supports all of us learning and growing, because, you know, we have our blinders on. We see the world as we see it. And that's the problem. You know, that's what the Yoga Sutras identify as the biggest problem, is that we don't see really the big picture of how reality is. It's not our reality. There is reality. And then each of us is interpreting reality and calling it how it is, but that ain't the truth. So the more we learn to listen to each other and share our own experiences with each other, the more we expand our capacity to hold others with compassion, which is a critical component for being a really skilled and impactful yoga therapist.
I have a quick question.
Okay, bring it.
For the first weekend, when it starts on the second weekend of October or third weekend of October, is that the first 3-day weekend?
It would be. There's been a little change in programming, so I need to say that. So I had originally thought that I would go right from the completion of this last cohort, which ended like less than a month ago. And then I would be all like fresh and ready to go in the fall. But as it turns out, that's not true. So I am going to start, because I want to have you guys need to set time and space aside. So do I. I have to have the energy so that I feel like what I'm bringing is really from the top of the well. And so I need some time and space, because the program, it requires a lot. I'm really dedicated to supporting everybody, the mentors, as well as the students through it. So I have wisely, I think, decided to start in the spring, which will also give you all an opportunity to get more of your finances together, your time frame together, like sort your lives and not feel like it's, oh my God, start now. Now, those of you who are all excited about getting started and, oh my God, what are we going to do? Just wait. Don't worry. I'm going to be offering a series in the fall, an embodied practice, which somebody said something, Nathan, I don't know who it was, said something about the philosophy and the practices. Like, anyway, that's kind of my favorite thing, is to take the philosophy and move with it, breathe with it, chant with it, mudra with it, like really embody it. And I've done that significantly in my work. And so I'm going to be offering a series in the fall and probably in the winter in embodied practices. And that would be a really good way for you to experience my teaching, first and foremost, if you haven't directly, and to really get a sense of the kinds of practices you will be learning how to teach. Because I'll tell you, the juicy part is that, like, where it all weaves together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin. I have a commitment I need to get to,
Yeah.
but I appreciate the information and the time. And actually, the spring is much better for me because I had a conflict on that weekend that I was stressing about. So we're
Great.
good.
Yeah, I'm thinking a little more time. Everything feels a little compressed. I just had to like sit with that and go, wait a minute, this feels compressed. Let's expand it out. Let's give everybody a little more space and time. And please reach out. You can reach out to me, to Melissa, if you have more questions.
Okay.
I'm happy to meet with any of you one-on-one too, if you want to just like, have a little time just to share something more personal or ask me about something in particular. I am happy to make myself available for that. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Nice meeting all of you.
Yeah, nice meeting you as well. Anyone else? Did I kind of cover the general shape of it for you? Is there anything else? Oh, the residencies. I did want to say something about that. So there's one each year, basically it's 3.5 years. So you're going to have 2 in foundations, one towards the beginning of foundations, and then at the end of foundations, and then, which is a nice way to bring closure to that portion of the program. And then there's one at the beginning of applications and then one at the end of applications. So those are in person. We do them in residence. We usually do them up on Whidbey Island, a nearby island to where Llewellyn lives in Puget Sound off of Seattle. And we do it there because one of the most important people in EYT lives there, our Ayurvedic chef, Arya Peterman. And Arya's food is exquisite, and eating Ayurvedic food while you are studying deeply, you learn a lot about how much food supports and nourishes your sleep, your digestion, and your brain function. Because we used to do these 10-day modules, and Arya, the difference between Arya not cooking and Arya cooking was like night and day. People were like, this is day 8 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I am still awake. And I don't feel like, I feel like I'm still tracking. Like, how is that possible that I'm not like, right? It's the food, babe, it's the food. So, and I'm sleeping and my poop has never been better. And everybody's like, how is this possible? Called Ayurveda. So Ayurveda, Arya's up there. So you get to taste her food. And then in the second year of applications, it's a little carrot to hang in there. She actually teaches us to cook, like she cooks, and specifically for all the different systems. So we learn how to cook for the neurological system and how to cook for the cardiovascular system. And this is my favorite part of the program. So I'm talking about it because I love food and I really appreciate how good food can make you feel so good, just like bad food can make you feel so bad. So anyway, Ayurveda is a big piece of our program, and Arya is a very important part of our team. So we go where she is. Okay. And the residencies vary in time between 5 to 7 days. Some of that has to do with when the retreat centers have availability and how much, and also how much time we need at different points. We don't always need the same amount of time to cover the material. But being in person is different than being on Zoom. We all know this, right? And like I mentioned Nathan's cohort, like right from the start, they just seem to be so open and trusting and caring for one another. And I thought, wow, it's almost like they're in person. And then after we were together in person, like the bonding was even different. They all spoke about it. Like, oh my God, it's so much richer 3-dimensionally. And I can hug you and like be right here in the room with you, and walk to the bathroom with you or whatever, stand in line waiting for food with you. Like it's all those sidebar conversations we do miss on Zoom. So as much as we try and create that community, it really comes together when we're in the same space and place together. All right. Any last minute questions, thoughts? How does this sound to you guys?
I had a question.
Yeah.
When I was reading a little bit about your background, it does mention you've studied under Iyengar Yoga, and I think also the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram, if I'm correct on that.
Yes, you are certified in both.
Yeah, and I was wondering how that it's informed your specific yoga therapy program.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it's really like I didn't know anything about yoga, and the yoga studio near my house happened to be Iyengar. I didn't know anything. I didn't know Iyengar from this, from that. just happened to be that. So that's what I fell into. So that's what I did. And then that's where I did my first teacher training, actually my first 3 teacher trainings, and then got certified in Iyengar yoga. I learned a lot and I got injured a lot. I accrued many, many injuries. And I got to a point where I thought, something isn't working here. I need to pay attention. So I love yoga, but I need to find another way to do it. And that's when I met Gary Kraftsoff from the Krishnamacharya tradition. And his whole approach was adaptive and therapeutic. And I found that that fit me so much better than, it fit my body, it fit my orientation, and the philosophy that he brought in and the breath work that he brought in was just so much of what I had been looking for, much more full on, not just the physical. And then, I think props are pretty awesome. And there's some great adaptations that I will not give up from Iyengar yoga and the whole restore. Like there's things that just like, okay, there's things I completely like, I would never do things that I used to do in Iyengar yoga. I would never ask somebody to do it because I understand more about anatomy and physiology. And like, that's actually not a safe thing to ask a general population to do. However, there are also things that I will not give up. So it started me on a process of going, okay, instead of saying this is good and this is bad, can we look and say, what is this useful for? Because both Vini yoga or the yoga from the Krishnamacharya tradition and Iyengar yoga, for instance, have really good studies behind them to show that they help lower back pain. But you know what? Their orientation towards lower back pain could not be more opposite. So I'm sitting there going, how could this be so? And where I came to it is like, this form of yoga, this kind of practice is really good for this kind of back pain. And this kind of yoga is really good for this kind of back pain. And now, knowing both of those, I can help more people because I'm not so boxed in. And I think what that helped me do was to free myself from having to be so tied to a tradition that I close myself off to learning more and gaining more insight and information and education. And so then I started looking at, well, what do people who are anatomy people who have no bias about asana whatsoever, what do they say about the body? And then, you know what I learned? A lot of what they say doesn't fit anything about what the yoga people are doing. So I'm like, okay, right? And then it's the same thing with the breath. I went outside of the yoga pranayama world to learn about respiratory physiology. I learned so much that I wish I had learned and felt like I should have learned in yoga school. Because here I am teaching breath and calling myself a breath expert. And I had no idea. Like I had no idea about how the respiratory system actually works and how it impacts all the other systems of the body and how it drives every chemical response and action in the body. So it's like, okay, I can take that knowledge and information and bring it back to the teachings of pranayama. And what I keep discovering is that the yogis were damn smart, the ancient ones. Modern ones, I'm not so sure about, but the ancient ones, they really knew. They had this understanding because if you understand the chemistry and the physiology of breath, and then you look at the way they oriented the practices, it makes perfect sense because of the intention that they were going for, that they would choose those breathing practices for that intention. It works. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it gives you a little window into my mind. That might be a scary thing, but I'm constantly weaving in and open to hearing like, what am I missing? Where are gaps in my understanding and how can I bring that in? And then how can that fill out my comprehension? And then how can it help me to refine the tools and the way I'm working with people to help facilitate their healing? That's all I care about. Like what's going to work best for this human being?
Yeah, that was a very helpful answer. It's also good to know the distinctions, even for like the example you gave for the lower body pain of how two different Hatha yoga traditions, how they approach it and how it's different. And one may not be supportive for an individual because their constitution, their prakriti might be just different. It's important to know that because sometimes we have a tendency to just put everything in this one sweeping order when really we need to individualize it because that's actually going to support the individual. That's how to be of better service to people.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. Yep. Yeah. I think it's different, I think if you're studying from a yoga tradition like the way that you've described it, then adherence to the tradition and the practices, there's something really important and valuable about that. But when you're talking about health and healing, I think we have to let go of some of that to be able to say, okay, but what's going to support this individual? What are, like, it's not what works for me. I do what works for me, but I have to be open and understand how to create practices and support lifestyle changes that are going to be helpful for the individual or the group that I'm working with. And that might be very different than what works for me.
Robin, hi, this is Zilda. I have a question.
Yeah.
Thank you. When the residency happens, typically what time of year, what season does it happen in? And the other question, I used to live in Tacoma, so and then the other question I have, and I heard, Nathan, I heard you mention or someone said your cohort was 15. Is that typical size? What's the typical size of a cohort?
Yeah, 12 to 15 is a good amount. I don't like to take on many more than that because it gets I just feel like with the sharing and everything, it keeps it tight. It's enough diversity, right, that it offers a broader lens, but then it also is cohesive enough that we can really work together and create that feeling of community and Sangha. Time of year, it's a difficult question because it depends on the retreat center and then availability and then where we are in the program. So ideally, this last cohort, I think we ended up, timing it well so that it was in late spring and early fall, which are the best seasons for the Northwest in terms of the least amount of rain, but it's the Northwest, so rain happens here. Yeah. And then sometimes it's just, those are also popular times. So then the retreat centers get filled up. And so then we have less options. Yeah.
And we're
try and keep summers off as much as possible.
And we're shifting dates, Zola, and they just haven't been set yet. So that's part of it as well.
Robin, I just have a couple of questions. The foundations and the applications you said can stand alone as two separate programs. I'm old and I don't know if I'm going to be able to really do both programs realistically. Sure. So, and I need to really think about the foundations. If it gave me enough to actually, I'm looking at it as my own personal practice, because you have so much experience and I want to continue to age in a healthy way. I'm 74. Yeah. And I've modified my practice over the years to make it work for me. And when I go into studios and see women my age struggling, and I'm thinking, oh, it doesn't need to be that way. So it's really just, you can't teach what you don't know. So I'm looking at it as taking your experience and all of your knowledge, integrating it into my own body, my own mind, and then if it works, maybe I can teach it. So it's really going to be like a stepping stone for me. Sure. So that's, sorry, I'm in an apartment building and the lady downstairs smokes pot all night. I'm still not used to the smell. So, and I'm not so concerned about hours and, Yoga Alliance and all that jazz, but how many hours, like, are we going to be involved in the foundation's program?
It's about, I think it's about 350, right, Melissa?
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then applications is about 1,000. So that's where we get the 1,300.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, right, because it's all the practicum.
It's 2 years,
And
2
it's 2
solid
years.
years.
So that might not be in the ballpark for me. So is the pricing broken down separately for the two programs?
Yep,
Have you
yep.
set that yet, or is that, you're still working on that?
I think that's up on the website.
It's on the
I
website,
honestly
okay.
can't, yeah, it's on the
I'll
website.
have a look at that. Okay, great, yeah.
Logistic questions like that, Melissa is your person. So in addition to everything else she does, she manages EYT and me.
Okay. Oh.
So she takes care of all those things.
Aren't you lucky?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, great.
Every day.
Great.
So grateful.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much for doing this tonight. And
Sure.
are you in Australia now?
Gosh, no. When I'm
Oh.
in Australia, I'll be in Australia. I won't be talking to you. I'll be there. No, I
Okay.
leave on August 9th.
Okay, all right, great,
Yeah.
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 Well, again, thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's been very helpful, and yeah, I've always wanted to practice and train with you, so I'm gonna try to make it work. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I hope there's also, I just want to say there are hundreds of hours of recorded practices that are available for download according to different, whatever your interests are, with me teaching. I know they're recorded, so it's not the same as live, but there's a lot on the website in the EYT digital library, and they're broken down, like I said, to, like physical practices, Ayurveda, and they're all embodied practices, breathing, more spiritual inner practices, meditation, so you can have at that too.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else have questions or reflections? Okay. Mentors, Nathan, anything you want to throw in that you just have one more thought you just want to toss out there?
Just one thing, Sharon, you made me think of something, and then Robin, you also made me think of something. So this program used to be in person, and my cohort was on Zoom, and it was really great. The nice thing is everything is also recorded. So if you were to miss something, you can go back and watch it. But Sharon, one of the helpful things for me is sometimes, depending on where I've been at in a certain day, like the practice, either I'm not in it, or I'm just I'm not feeling this, what am I doing? I can go back and watch it again, or I can't remember what Robin said about something within the lower body, so I can then go back and not be in the practice but watch the practice. And so it's so incredibly helpful, the amount of recordings, especially on the practices, to even break those down, to be I can use just this 5-minute section with the client, and being able to pull that out. And then, so just from a personal practice standpoint, that foundational program is so incredibly helpful from the amount of practices you actually go through, and being able to kind of work with your own body and adapt if you are taking it in a more personal practice route.
Thank you, Nathan. Yeah, the recordings have been, we can say there's downsides to Zoom, but at the same time, having taught in those 10-day modules, all day, 10 days, trying to squeeze everything in while people could be together in residency. And it's just not the best learning environment to be able to take it month by month and have a whole month just to digest that piece before the next installment. And then another month just to digest that piece, and to have more time with the practices because we have more time. So then we have a whole month to work with the practices on just that piece, as opposed to trying to squeeze it all into 2 days, what we would do over a month. It's a much better learning forum, I feel like, with all the challenges of being on Zoom and computer fatigue and all of that, which I also honor and recognize. It's still, I think, offers people more capacity in being able to go back and rewatch and review, whether it's lecture or practices, and have a repeat experience, a fresh learning on a different level than in the moment. Really helpful. And then like all of that material is yours. It's like it does, like Nathan can go back and reference, a practice that we did, last spring, in 2 years from now, if he wants, he can go back and be like, oh, there was that really awesome practice we did, I think that would be helpful. Let me go review. And it's there. So it's a resource for you into the future. All right.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, Zola. Yep.
I have one more
Yep.
question.
Sure.
I'm just now kind of delving into this just yoga therapy world. And so let me see if my understanding is that if people go through a yoga therapy program, then they take a exam to be in the International Yoga Therapist Association. Is that right? So how does that work, and what is that about, and what is that transition?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you asked that question, Zola, because I would have been afterwards like, you didn't even talk about IOYT. So the International Association of Yoga Therapists is an incredibly rich organization that is really committed to a high level, a high standard of excellence for yoga therapy, for the field, and for yoga therapists. There's a big difference between IAYT and how it works and Yoga Alliance. So IAYT has an accrediting body where all programs that are accredited by IAYT have been vetted, and the vetting process is more challenging than my program. It's really like you have to, and I highly recommend any of you, whether you do my program or another program, if you are serious about wanting to be a yoga therapist, first stop would be go to IAYT's website if you haven't already, take a look at it overall, but also, read the mission statement and all of that, but read the standards and competencies, which are what is required for yoga therapy schools to be accredited. They have to show that they hit every single one of these marks. And it's a high bar, which is why 800 hours is barely squeaking by. To really do it well, it requires even more than that. It's just because there's a great deal of knowledge that is expected. If you're going to go out there and say, I'm applying yoga therapeutically as a healing modality, you need to know some stuff. You can't be faking it. So IAYT has the accreditation process for schools, and then students who have graduated from accredited schools are able to apply for certification to become a certified and IAYT certified yoga therapist, a CIAYT. The process, accreditation certification, to move us in the direction as a profession towards state licensure, where we could actually have insurance codes, CPT codes, and be able to bill insurance, requires that we also have a board exam. And so for each of these pieces, I just want you to know, has taken hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteer time to actually put these processes in place. So the certification exam has been in process for the last 3 years, and is finally at the point now where people are so anyone who starts a program after 2023 is required upon graduation, if they want to get their CIYT, they have to complete the board exam, just like you would for a law school or, to become a lawyer, right? Or doctor. There's board exams for these kinds of health professions to ensure that the student has this basic understanding of what they're doing and is able, we can say as an organization that these people have demonstrated that they have to have the education and they have the understanding to be able to be certified yoga therapists. So you all will be required to take a board exam to get your CIAYT at the end of the program. And I want to say that although nobody in Nathan's cohort started in 2022, so they weren't required, but I've had several of the mentors, including Melissa. I don't know, Llewellyn, did you do it? No, a couple people have done it. Nobody from EYT has failed. They've all passed. And the word is, we were prepared for that. So I feel good that we have covered our nuts and bolts. I'm currently president of the board. I take the organization very seriously and I was a part of the original accreditation process. So I hold to that high standard, and I think we're on a good track towards creating a viable profession and being recognized as another option for referrals from doctors and others in the healthcare field, to say, instead of just like, oh, you could go to massage or you could get acupuncture, you could do yoga therapy, not yoga therapy, because yoga therapy, right, stands apart from yoga. There's no accreditation oversight for Yoga Alliance. I just want to say that it's a registry. So if you fill out the form correctly and you pay money, nobody's going to, I mean, I have my school signed in for that so that people who want their 500 hour at the end of foundations, that they can apply for that. So that's why I'm involved with, why I'm registered with Yoga Alliance and my continuing education, to support the yoga teachers who are in my group, right, to support them. But I'm very aware that Yoga Alliance does not in any way offer the kind of oversight that IAYT does to ensure quality. Was that helpful, Zola? Yeah, IAYT.org, and give yourself a chunk of time to really look at it, because it will give you a sense of how serious we take the field and all the various ways that we've been really building structures around the profession.
Can I add one thing, Robin? I will send out an email in a couple of days. We'll upload the recording. And then in the email, Robin did a webinar recently, Functional Breathing for Low Back Stability. I'll send a link to that in case you want to get a taste of Robin's teaching. And I'll put my email in there in case you have technical questions for me.
Thank you, Melissa. See, that's what she does. She does that Melissa magic. All right. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you taking your time. Stay in touch. Bring your questions. They might bubble up later. It's fine. Just bring them forward. Me or Melissa will reach back and be in touch. Thanks, Andrea, Nathan, Llewellyn, and Melissa for being here to share as well. Really valuable. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good
Take
night.
care.
Thank you, Robin.
Blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, do you want to end the recording?
I'm